Good morning, everybody. I am Joseph, and I am the Web Product Development Coordinator in the Buckles office. And today is our last session, and we are going over Google Meet. So today, in today's class, we will learn how to start or schedule a Google Meet video meeting. We'll learn how to join the video meeting. And then we'll go into a meeting and see how we can use the meeting controls, like see what you're presenting, change your view, and change the view of the participant tiles. We'll be able to add or remove people from a video meeting, and then we'll talk about how to collaborate within those video meetings. So I'd like to get started by sharing my screen, and I'm going to jump right into my Google account. This is our working account. This is Betty Buckles. And within here, I have signed into Gmail. And this is basically where I go to start everything I do when it comes to Google. So I have opened up a Chrome browser and I have logged into my Gmail. And from here, we have the launcher up here. We have the inbox. You can see all the Gmail, and then in the left column here is my chat. We mentioned this before in the questions. This is where you have all of your instant messaging with other people, and you can add it here, add somebody. Here's your spaces, and right here at the bottom, we have Google Meet. So Google Meet, from here, I can do a couple of things. I can start a new meeting, or I can view my meetings. Now, when you go into your Gmail, if you do not see this here, you basically need to turn it on. And I'm going to do the same thing for chat. So I just want to point out both of those things. So I'm going to go to my settings, and that's in the top right-hand corner. It's that gear icon. I click on the gear, and then I'm going to click on See All Settings. And when you first get to your settings, you're going to be in the tab marked General. This is where I believe it's our Gmail class, we went over how to add a signature, how to add an out of office message. That's in this tab here. So if you go to the right, you'll see one called Chat and Meet. Go ahead and click on that. And the very first option is Chat. It may be turned off for you. So you just need to click in the radio button next to Google Chat, just turn that on. And then the bottom one is Meet. So you'll notice I have the one marked Show the Meet section in the main menu, and that is right here. That's why that's showing up. If I hide it, it's going to hide it. So I'm going to save the changes, and you'll see in this left column here, it hid Google Meet. So I'm going to go back to my settings, See All Settings, Chat and Meet, and I'll turn that on. And I always have to remember to click Save Changes. Remember, when you're in your settings, if you make any changes, click Save Changes. I save those changes, and there it is right at the bottom. So if I click on My Meetings, it will bring up a column here, and it shows you all of the meetings that are scheduled that Betty Buckles belongs to, and you'll notice there are no meetings right now. So as soon as she agrees to a meeting, it will appear here, or if she creates meetings, they'll appear here as well. To create a new meeting, you can click on New Meeting, and it will give this little pop-up menu, and this pop-up, and it's going to give you the web address for that meeting and all of your dial-in information. And if you would like, you can create, see more phone numbers. You can send invites from here. So if you want to send this to a group of people, you can do that here. If you're creating a department meeting or a meeting with a select group of people, you can go ahead and create that invite, or you can join now, and that will automatically start that meeting for you. Google will always create the meeting link for you automatically, so you don't have to worry about doing any of that. You can copy this from here. You can highlight the whole thing. Sorry, I started to highlight and I stopped. You can highlight the whole thing and copy it, or if you just click this icon right here, it's going to copy that meeting link for you. One other way to create a Google Meet video meeting is to do it from your calendar. Actually, I think I have the calendar open somewhere. Here it is. So within my calendar, I can create a Google Meet. And we did this on our day when we went over Google Calendar. So I'm going to start a new event. I double click in here. Here's my new event. I can give this a title, and I can choose a time, and it does not repeat. And if I just click this button here, add Google Meet video conferencing, it will create that link for me again right here. I can copy that link and all the information. I can edit the call options from here. So I can turn off host management, and I can stop others from sharing their screen or sending chat messages. So in breakout rooms, you can basically set up your breakout rooms ahead of time. So you can change the number of rooms, you can change the name of the room here, and you can put the people into the rooms ahead of time. So if I want to add people, I need to make sure I add guests here. So if I add Darlene, and then I go back to this setting here, breakout rooms, you'll see Darlene is automatically assigned to a breakout room. If I want, I can drag her to another breakout room. So make sure you add your guests before you do any of those, any of the editing within the settings. And again, down here, this shows you which calendar it's on. It's on Betty's calendar. I'm going to save this, and I'm not going to send that so that Darlene does not get an email about it. And if I go back to my inbox and go to my meetings, should appear here. I may just have to refresh. There it is here. So here's that meeting that I just created. And I can just click here to join it when it's time. So when it's time to join your meeting, you, again, can go to My Meetings here and click that Join button. Or if you know it's on your calendar, go ahead and click on that calendar event and then click the button that says Join with Google Meet. You could also copy the event info, the web address that was sent to you. If you don't have it on your calendar and it was emailed to you, you can copy that information and paste it into a tab on your browser, and it will automatically open that meeting for you. It's also going to tell you when it's time to open that meeting, it's going to, when you open that meeting, it's going to ask you for control over your camera and your microphone, and you want to make sure that you allow that so that you can be heard and be seen within the meeting. And then you just click on the button that says Join Meeting. So we are now in a meeting here. So here is a meeting. This meeting was called by Betty. So you'll see it says you. We have two other people in the meeting. And right now, this view is a tiled view. So if I want to change the layout of this view, I go to my settings here, and this is the kebab menu here. There's more options, and I go to change layout. When I go to change layout, it gives me a bunch of different options. So I can choose auto, and it will just do this automatically for me. It will adjust as necessary. Or if I like the tiled view, I can choose the tiled and then how many people I want it to tile at once. I can spotlight the one particular person or the person who is speaking. And I can also create a sidebar. And the sidebar pushes everybody to the right. So I'm going to go back to that spotlight so you can see. This is the spotlight. It is spotlighting one person, and you'll see my screen is over here, or my view, or the view of me, Betty Buckles, is over here on the right, and it's kind of floating in there. I'm going to go back to that option to change the layout. I want to choose the sidebar version so you can see what that looks like. I'll just close this out. Here's the main speaker, and here are the rest of the participants. They will appear in a sidebar down here. My favorite way to view it always is in a tiled version because I like to see everybody who's in the meeting. A couple of other options within this menu here for the view is full screen. So if I would like, I can change this to a full screen version, just like we did in WebEx. And now I don't have any interference from the rest of the browser. I don't have any distractions there. To exit that, I open up this menu again and click Exit Full Screen. And lastly, we can apply Open Picture in Picture. So basically, this is now pulled that call over here to a new kind of floating window. I'm just going to pull it back in. One other thing I can do is change where I appear during this. So this is me here. If you notice under my options, I have this minimize option where I don't see that on the other participants. I see it here for me. I can pin myself. So if I pin myself, I become big and I will stay there throughout the rest of the meeting. And no matter who is talking, I will be pinned into this position. I can do that with other participants. So I pin Wendy and she appears here and she will remain here even if other people are talking. If I unpin her, we'll go back to basically being even. This minimize one is going to take me out of the scenario. So it took me out of the participants' view, and now I actually exist over here to the right. So I am less of a distraction to myself, especially if you don't like watching yourself or seeing yourself throughout the meeting. I expand it, and I'm back again. So that's a kind of a little rundown on how to change your view of the participants. If you go to the right, in the bottom right-hand corner, you're going to see a bunch of different icons down here. One of them is the little people. If I click on that, this shows me a list of participants within the meeting. And from here, I can add more people to this meeting. So if I wanted to add somebody, I have this meeting going on and I thought, oh, I should invite so-and-so. I should invite Darlene to this meeting. I can go ahead and click add people and I can choose somebody to add. And then I can send them an email and let them know, we're in a meeting right now. We'd love you to join us. And it will send all of the meeting information to her. And she'll be able to click on that link and join the meeting. I can also remove people from this meeting in this view. So each user you'll see has a little kebab menu next to their name. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And you can see I can remove this user from the call. I'm not going to do that right now because I would like to have these other people in here so it looks like a meeting. But if I remove them from the call, it will basically just oust them from the call. They won't be able to get in. From here, you also have the ability to mute the other users. So they were all muted right now so that it doesn't pull my audio away from our meeting. So, but if they are unmuted, you'll see this microphone appear and you can go ahead and click on that to mute them. You'll also see it if you hover over their icon in the larger screen here, you'll see that little mute button so you can mute them. And when in Google Meet, when you mute somebody, it will say you were muted by so-and-so. So if I mute Wendy, it'll say you were muted by Betty Buckles. And then next to the participants, we have the chat. And this is just like our chat box in WebEx. This is where we're going to send messages. And in Google Meet, we're sending messages to everybody. And if you notice, because I am the host, I can let everyone send messages, and that is turned on. If I turn this off, you will not be able to send messages. So I'm going to turn that back on and just flip over to another view. I'm going to go to Wendy's view here. So this is Wendy's view. And if she goes to the chat, she can send a message to everybody. I'm going to hop back over to Betty's view, and I'm going to turn that off. And then I'll go back to Wendy. And you'll see chat isn't available at this time. So you see that I have turned off the chat. She cannot chat with everybody. I will just turn that back on again. And if I go ahead and send a message, this is Betty sending the message, and I know that. because it says you. You is with the Betty icon here. If I flip over to Wendy, you'll see within her chat box, hello world came up, and it was from Betty Buckles. And she can respond by just simply typing in a message and then either clicking this arrow or hitting the enter button on your keyboard. And lastly, we have activities to the right. So we have breakout rooms, polls, Q&A. Miro is a whiteboard, and it is a third-party application or an add-on that was added to this Google Google app. So we have breakout rooms, and this is where you can split up into smaller groups. And you saw that when I was creating a meeting, and I added Darlene to another group. So when we hit that breakout room, I can break into smaller discussion groups, and I can, as a host, I can split people up into groups. Now, Wendy, I'm in Wendy's account right now, and she is not the host, so she can't do anything with this. But if I flip over to Betty's account, and I go to the, I'm just going to get rid of this chat, and I go to those apps again and click breakout rooms. Now I have the option to set up the breakout rooms. So I can click set up, and I can change how many rooms I want to create, and we'll have breakout. It automatically makes 2 rooms. Otherwise, what's the point of having the breakout room? And it automatically assigns people. Again, like I did before, I can grab them and switch them to different rooms. And then I'm going to open the room. I can change the timer. I can shuffle people around, and I can clear this whole thing. So if I want to change the timer, I can change it to end them after a certain amount of time, and then click OK. I'm not going to do that, so that I can just end them, and I'll open the rooms. So once I open the room, everybody is going to join their room. So if I jump back over to Wendy, it says you've been invited to join breakout room 1. You can return to the main call at any time. So it is up to the participant to actually join the room. So she's going to click join, and she'll go out into this room. So now her view will only show who's in that breakout room. And if you notice, she's the only one there, so that's all she's seeing. If I jump over to test, you'll also see he's in a breakout room. He joined, he's in his own. And now if I go back to Betty's view, everybody is in a breakout room. So here in the list of rooms, we see Wendy is in her room and test user is in his room. And I'm just going to jump back, or I can close this, and you'll see everybody's gone from this main room. I go back to my breakout rooms. At any point in time, I can join one of these rooms to jump in and see how they're doing, kind of check on their progress, and then I'll be able to exit as well. When I'm ready, I can close the rooms. So I will close all the rooms. And if you notice, it gives you this little message. It gives them 30 seconds to basically wrap up what they're doing. So I'm going to say close all rooms, jump back to Wendy, and you'll see here's my countdown. And she'll automatically be moved back to the main room when that countdown is done. Or she can choose to return to the main call. So we're going to choose that and go back to the main call. So within this main room, you'll see Wendy and Betty are in the room together, and we're just waiting for test user to join again. And when that time is done, there he is. He joins. He comes back to the main room. So there's your breakout rooms and polls. You can poll your audience. You can have your Q&A just like we do here. So that's just a matter of clicking on it and starting a poll. Same thing with the Q&A. You can get it going and organize them how you would like to see them. So you want to see only the unanswered questions, the answered ones, or the hidden, and you want to show most popular, newest. And the great thing about Q&As within these platforms now, when people ask a question, it will basically put those questions in a list, and everybody else can vote on that question. They can say, yes, I want to ask that too. So they just, thumbs up that question, and the more people who vote for that, the higher it will go on the list if that's how you choose to sort it. And lastly, over here, as a host, here are my host controls. So you'll notice only the host sees this. And this is where we can turn on and off all those different settings. The eye icon right here is just the meeting information. So that's if you want to grab this information and email it to somebody, you can always jump on there and copy that information. So another piece that we use a lot in these meetings is raising the hand. Because we want to kind of keep the chatter to a minimum, we have this option of raising a hand. So if you raise your hand, the other people in the meeting will see it. So I'm going to raise my hand here, and if you notice, it jumps up there. It says, you've raised your hand. I'm just going to jump over to Wendy's view so you can see. If you see it, Betty Buckles right here has raised her hand. So I will know if I'm in the middle of talking, I'll know that she's raised her hand, and I'll be able to call on her. I can then, I'm going to go back to Betty, I can then lower my hand by just clicking on it again. It will lower that hand there. I can also change my background. So if I was using a camera right now, I'd be able to change the background. Unfortunately, I can't use the camera because the camera is occupied with our WebEx meeting right now. So to do that, you apply visual effects. When you choose to apply the visual effects, Google Meet has done some kind of cool backgrounds for you. There are settings, and some of them are animated, which is kind of fun. And they can be a little distracting, so just keep that in mind. But they're kind of fun, and they can put you all kinds of different places. Or you can just simply choose to blur your background. So we have two options in Google Meet. You can slightly blur it or really blur it out, so you can't really see what's happening back there. So if you have a very messy office, maybe just blurring the background is a good way to go. Or change your background altogether. When you change your background, just know that it's constantly taking like little images of you, and it's trying to basically Photoshop you into that background. So you may appear a little slow moving, or the outline of your body won't be as crisp as you want it to be. So sometimes people just go for a blurred background. And I got there again just by going to this menu here, this kebab menu, and I went to apply visual effects. Here's where you can also turn on captions. So if you want to turn on the captions, you click that, and now my captions have been turned on. You'll also see this little button here has turned blue. So now as people speak, captions will be automatically created. And I can turn that off at any point by just clicking that button. And you'll see it says captions have been turned off. This is also where you're going to go when you have any kind of audio problems or microphone problems. You go to your settings, and this is where you're going to make sure that you have it facing the correct microphone and the correct speaker. You can do a little test here. There's also a test once your microphone is allowed. So you'll notice none of these options are available to me because I have actually blocked them, so I can continue our meeting. And after the settings, this is also where you're going to kind of report your problems and stuff. That doesn't come up too often, but as a host, you may want to just keep an eye on that. And lastly, we have the Present Now button. So within Present Now, this is how you present your screen. So if I choose to present now, it's going to ask me a couple of different things. You can either share your entire screen, one of your windows. So I happen to have 2 monitors on my computer, so I can choose one of the windows, or just a tab. You can choose to show a tab within that window. If you're going to be flipping from between tabs within your browser, I suggest sharing an entire window and not just a tab. Keep that in mind, because if you only share a tab and then you flip to another one, your audience won't see it. Okay. So I'd like to take the opportunity now to open this up to questions. Let me know if you have any questions about what we went over today. So just want to, while we're waiting for questions, I just want to point out so when you're creating Google Meets from, say, like a calendar event, I'm going to just jump back to my calendar, and this calendar event, I'm going to edit it. I can actually add my group here too. So if I belong to any groups, I can add them here. And if I just add that group email address, so if you belong to a committee and you want to just add that committee email address, it'll automatically add everybody who's in that group. Just a good thing to keep in mind. You don't have to list everybody individually.
Thank you, Joseph.
You're welcome.
We do have our question.
Mm-hmm.
How do you like Google Meets as compared to WebEx or Zoom?
How do I like them? I like them very much. I like Google Meet. It works very well, especially with anybody else in our organization or anybody else with a Gmail account. So it's really easy to use. It's very user friendly. Yeah, so I like it a lot. Going back and forth from that and WebEx is just a little different. One of the things that is not offered within our Google Workspace or our G Suite on Google Meet is we don't have the ability to record meetings. So that's the only kind of downfall to using Google Meet. But if you don't need to record your meeting, you don't really have to worry about it. If you do need to record your meeting, Buckles does have the WebEx account. So we can always set that up. Sometimes if we're having an event like we are today, that's why we're using WebEx, so we can record it.
And that was actually going to be a question, Joseph, about recording in Google Meet, which you answered. It seems like compared to WebEx or Zoom, it's very easy to set up a meeting by just clicking on it when you're in Calendar. It just seems like it's very simple to set up a meeting, and all the options with the breakout rooms and turning off.
I have to tell you, that is like the best part of Google Meet. When you're in this view here on your calendar and you're creating that event, I love having the options right here within the calendar event where you can set this up. And if you're going to do breakout rooms, this is a great way to set them up ahead of time and not have to do that when you're in the meeting and kind of like scrambling to do that when you're in the meeting. So it is a really nice, again, like I said, it's very user friendly.
So if you wanted to set the breakout rooms ahead of time, would you work from the list of people that are expected to be in the meeting, or? Yes.
So you can only create these breakout rooms ahead of time with those who are listed as invites. Once you get into the meeting, other people join, you can then sort them into rooms.
And if say you're expecting 20 people and you do two breakout rooms of 10 each, and then like say 2 people don't show up, one room would have 10 and one would have 8 then, and then if you wanted to, you could sort people and move them.
It depends on who doesn't show up. So if you do it ahead of time, if you have 10 people and there are 5 and whatever what did you say? 10 and
I had 10 and 10.
So if you had 10, if you had 10 and 10, but somebody from breakout 1 and somebody from breakout room breakout 2 didn't show up, then you'd have 1 less in each room. You can also shuffle them, and you can reorganize, like I said, in the meeting. So you can pull somebody from one room and add them to a different one.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really simple because it's drag and drop. So you don't have to worry about typing people in or anything like that. So very easy.
Yeah, that's great. Joseph, while we're giving it a minute or two, do you have any other tips or tricks that you'd like to share for Google Meet?
Well, one of the things I wanted to point out was within Google, the other Google applications. So I'm going to go to one of my documents here. Is this one good? Oh, this is fine. So within my document, if you notice up here on the top right, this is a way to use this document within a call. So I'm in a call right now, or Betty Buckles is in a call right now. And if I choose, I can bring the call here, or I can just present this tab. So if I bring the call here, that's basically going to pull everybody into this document and have everybody work on it here. What I can also do is just present this tab. So if I go ahead and do that, present this tab, I'm going to share that. Now within, I should be able to go back to my meeting, and here it is. Within my meeting, I'm sharing this tab right now. And so you can see where we can work on that. Now everybody else can jump into this document. If I shared it with them, they could jump into this document. I'm going to stop sharing it. And if I say bring call here, everybody is now on this document and they're working on it right here. The call no longer, I don't want to say the call no longer exists, but the call, well, that's what I want to say. The call no longer really exists. Now we're in a document working. So we're going to be communicating here. We're going to be editing, commenting, and everything here. But when I'm done using this, I can, or I have a couple of different options, but one of the things I can do is pop this out, and now we're back into our meeting. So I like that option. Just if we're working on this and you realize, like, you know what, we're all working on this, why don't we just jump in the call by either just presenting it or bringing the call there so we can take time to work on it. And that works for basically all of the Google applications. So if you have a sheet that you're working on, and here's my sample spreadsheet, I can do that from up here as well. I have the same options. Because I'm in a call, these are my options right now. I can bring the call here or I can present it. If I was not in a call, so why don't I go ahead and leave this call. I'm just going to leave the call, but I'm going to let everybody else stay in there. They always ask you, how is the audio and video? So they're always going to ask you that. You can choose to answer it if you want. So now, since I'm not in a call, it'll tell me I don't have any upcoming meetings. I can either start a meeting or I can use a meeting code. And if I use a meeting code, that's going to allow me to enter that meeting.
Joseph?
Yes.
Using the meeting code, would that be the same as clicking on the Google Meet link?
Basically, yeah, that's basically the same thing.
Okay, okay. So just to go back to something that you said, is present this tab the same as Zoom share screen?
Yes. In a nutshell, yes. That's
Okay.
the same thing. You're presenting or you're sharing.
Okay. And is there a limit to the number of people who can participate in a Google Meet?
There is, but the limit for our organization is quite high, and I don't know that number right off the bat, but it's pretty high. So you don't really have to worry about it.
Okay.
You want to double check on personal accounts. Personal accounts are probably smaller or lower.
Okay. So really, it seems like the main difference is that the version of Google that we have does not allow us to record, but everything else
Right.
is pretty similar to either WebEx or Zoom.
Right. So it looks like anybody with just a personal account can have up to 100 participants in a meeting, but your meeting really only lasts for 60 minutes. Because we have the Google Workspace account, ours are not limited in time.
Excellent. And that applies to everyone?
Yes.
Everyone in the membership?
Yep.
Okay. I don't see any other questions in the Q&A box or the chat box, so I'm just going to do my closing remarks. If anyone has any questions, please type them in now. So again, many thanks to Joseph Palmer, our web development and product coordinator, for another excellent class and a super series. I would also like to thank Dave Hansen and Adele Puccio for their support of this training initiative. This is the first time that we have offered this type of training in-house. I would also like to thank our director, staffers, trustees, and friends of the library. All are awesome for attending. And again, if you signed in with just your name, a first name or non-descriptive name, please email me. Certificates will be created for those who attended all 8 classes and will be sent shortly. We'll also be sending an evaluation to you after today's class. Your feedback is very important, so please let us know your thoughts about this particular class. And we'll also be sending you an evaluation that covers the entire series and specific questions about what topics you think would be helpful going forward, either in this format or another format. So again, please take a few minutes to give us your feedback, because that's how we determine what training to offer in the future.